Alan, I know one of your favorite topics is your incessant adoration of all things Blogger Google Plus integration because they've done such a splendid job. They actually somehow found a way to improve that integration. So
You can't top
I'm trolling
perfection,
Alan now. Go
but
ahead.
somehow they did.
I don't know. I mean, it's like improving on apple pie. How do you possibly? What do you think?
Well, let's give a little background first. As many of our followers know that have watched me in the past, I've long talked about how Blogger and Google Plus are a really natural fit for integration. So when they first announced that you were going to be able to write your Blogger posts and then post them on Google Plus, I was thrilled. I was ecstatic until I actually saw the implementation, which was a total mess. The biggest problem I had at the time was that when you posted something, you actually needed to then make a bunch of extra clicks to post it on Google Plus. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why do I need to do all of this extra work? And most of the time, I schedule my posts in advance. So this doesn't give me anything. And I said so, and I discussed it with them at the time, and they, nodded and said, we understand. Then several months back, they added the Google Plus comment system to Blogger. And I had a lot of trouble getting it to work. And the biggest reason I had trouble getting it to work was that I was very staunchly trying to keep my Blogger account as the one that was running the account. So finally, they now introduced a new feature, and that's that when you create a post, it can now, if you choose to do so, and I'll emphasize it's an if you choose to do so, it's totally up to you. If you choose to do so, it will just automatically go and post it on Google+. And I bit the bullet. I linked my page.
I thought it was opt out, or do they give you a warning thing like, by the way, this is going to happen?
No, it's opt in.
Are you sure? Because it was my understanding they would automatically do it unless you told it not to do it.
No, it will automatically. Currently, it will prompt you if you want to post.
So it's a volunteer. You're not going to accident. No one's going to, unless they just don't read and just quickly.
Right.
There won't be accidental posts from.
No. Absolutely not.
Pam's blogger to her Google Plus.
Well, if Pam has a blog for her Thong Thursday community, that's another story.
Or her hairy men one.
But in addition, adult communities are not allowed to, are qualified for this. Adult blogs. But no, it's a very, very specific setting in the settings page that you have to turn on and say, yes, cross-post this to Google Plus, and you have to actually link it to a Google Plus profile or page. So there's work involved. This isn't just a poof, magic happens. There's a little bit of work involved, but Blogger users are used to that. So I tested this, and it didn't work.
I have the same thing with the integration that we talked about earlier, where if you say embed a post, it has two links. It says put this in the header, embed this where you want the widget, and if you put both of those in, it doesn't work. And so Craig and I, two morons compared to you and Gerwin, I was like, why doesn't this work? And then I, being the genius of the two, or the less dumb of the two, I figured out you don't put the header thing in there because that kills the second part. I'm not sure why. So you said there are problems here, but
the problem in this case is that I went about doing the way creating a post the way I always do it, and I scheduled a post for 15 minutes in the future, and it never and it posted fine, but it didn't show up on Google Plus. And finally, after a lot of hacking around and talking to people like Bruce Boulderman and working with Mike Downs on a couple of things, we discovered the reason is that you still can't schedule posts that are going to show up on Google+. But if you write a post and click, or if you write a blog article and click post, it will immediately go and post it to Google+. I got that working fine. It now works great as long as I don't want to schedule posts. But I want to schedule posts. That's what I want to do. That's how I use Blogger. That's one of Blogger's big features. So that was kind of frustrating to me, and I've sent feedback to the Blogger team about this already.
Now, of course, with DoShare, you could do it manually, but it wouldn't automatically.
Right,
but no, you couldn't. You couldn't because you have the post doesn't exist yet for DoShare to share.
Right.
Publicly.
Well, yeah.
Now, just curious what your motivation is for scheduling posts. Is it so that like you want to hit certain, like if it's about the EU's new policy on APIs or whatever, that you would want that to hit at a time that they're most actively on the internet, or what?
It's a bunch of things. I mean, many of my blog posts aren't terribly wonderful posts. They're not terribly cool things, but I prefer to post them. I will tend to write them either at 5 a.m. or at midnight, both times which I don't really have a lot of people who are going to be paying attention to me. So I prefer to write them then and post them around noon. One. Two is a lot of times I will be posting on historical events and talking about, here's what happened on this day in history. Here's why this holiday is significant to me. Those sorts of things. And I will often write them days ahead of time, and I'll be busy on that holiday. Honestly, if I'm writing about the 4th of July, I'm out celebrating the 4th of July. I'm not sitting around waiting to hit the send button on my blog post. So, my attitude about this sort of thing is, this is the sort of thing that automation was meant for. You don't, you're a journalist. You don't pay your writers to do what is honestly a more menial job for them. You don't pay writers to carry around newspaper copy from one office to the other. You're paying them to write. You want them to write, and you don't want to pay them author salaries for being a copy boy. And that's essentially what is ending up in this case. Now, I'm hopeful, and you're going to hear me say this an awful lot for the next few segments, I am hopeful that they will finally figure out how to do it so that my scheduled post can show up. I am optimistic that they will actually make this a really, really useful tool, because other than that, this works beautifully. I mean, I will. This is one feature, and it's a big feature for me. But other than that, they did a really, really good job in getting this to work. So it's things like in Blogger you can set a title. Makes sense, right? The title comes over, and when it's shown on GooglePlus, it's shown in bold on the first line. They format it right. I've been told by people who tested that if you embed pictures, the pictures will come over correctly. Brilliant. It's things like when you have a concept in Blogger called a jump cut, so that the first few lines will show, and then the rest of it they need to actually go to the Blogger page itself to read. It'll respect the jump cut and only show you the things before the jump cut. So these are, in some ways, they're little details, but they got the little details correct, and I've got to give them big kudos for that. But guys, really, seriously, you need to respect scheduling posts, because that's one of Blogger's great features that's just missing at this point. So I'm excited. I like what they've finally done. It took them a while to get to that point, but I'm glad they're finally here, and I can't wait to see them actually fix the little things that are missing.
I think in one of our interviews with Vic Condotra, we asked him about scheduled posts, and I think it's a deliberate thing that they want to discourage for spam prevention, and that's a legitimate concern.
That's legitimate, but one of the and that's his argument about APIs as well. But one of the things that that they're concerned about in this sort of thing is, we talk about it in terms of quality of a post. They want only high quality posts. If I'm writing a blog, all I want there are high quality posts. All I want there is high quality posts, because presumably a lot of bloggers are monetizing their blogs, so they want people to show up, and they want people to keep showing up. So having a lot of junk posts there is not to anyone's advantage. One of the things we said when we talked about some of the loosening rules when it came to pages is we were worried about pages starting to do more spamming. Come on, guys, let us do the automated posts. I can assure you more people will use them correctly than will abuse it, but let's find out.
And a lot of it's the free market. I mean, it's not like pushing email into your inbox. You choose who to circle, and that's what you read. And if someone's spamming, you're going to uncircle them. If someone wants to spam and spam and spam, and no one's following them to read it, then it's pointless. But
Right.
I do see the need for, like, let's say you were getting married at high noon and you wanted to say, I'm
I'm
so
married.
proud
Right.
that I'm, and obviously, or let's say when you get enter politics, I, Alan Furstenberg, do solemnly swear. Oh, hang on, Mr. Chief Justice, I tried to schedule this earlier, but to all
Right,
my
but,
tweeters or Google
Right.
Plus
I mean,
followers.
there are legitimate uses for scheduled posts. There are legitimate abuses for it. I'm not going to say there aren't, but come on, this is a great feature. It's in Blogger already, so obviously they feel that it's a great feature too. Let's fully integrate it.
And also, in their defense, they don't want to take something away, because the only thing that would make you more frustrated than not getting it is if they gave it to you and you spent. I remember our good friend Mohammed Mansour when they made a change and all of his apps stopped working, he freaked out.
And it's funny.
I can see your reaction. That's the only thing that'll be worse than not having access is to be let in the gate and then told to leave.
It's great that you say that, and we'll take that same subject up again in two topics from now.
Awesome.